I want to pick your brain here as someone who's more in the weeds in this world than I am. I'm not a doctor, but the Post reported that Dr. Harry signed the death certificate that said Irsay's cause of death was cardiac arrest. There wasn't an autopsy or toxicology report done at the time, and local police a few days later wrapped up the case here. And as an attorney, when you hear that, do alarm bells go off? I mean, what do you think, especially because Dr. Harry said in an interview reportedly that he felt that Irsay was like a brother and he treated him for 1.5 years like a brother. I mean, what do you make of that close of a relationship, you're signing the death certificate without any type of investigation into the death in the days after?
Look, for me, it's the close relationship signals a concern about boundaries and about whether the relationship was so close that there were things done that weren't in Mr. Irsay's best interest. But this issue of the heart attack, let me just address that. It's a fascinating issue. When the opioid crisis began in the early 2000s, what we saw is that the records of death do not have a category for overdose, right? So often, most commonly, drug overdose deaths are graded as heart attacks, and here we are 20 years later, and we're still trying to figure out how to address that issue. Here in California, the medical board adopted a project known as the Death Project, where it actually goes back and it looks at heart attacks to see if they were drug related and whether they deserve review. And I think it's interesting that we're still grappling with this. So it's not Dr. Haratunian's fault that this was graded as a heart attack. That's just the way our system is set up. But it does raise questions about whether his relationship to this patient and his was clouded his judgment, and whether the care rendered was really up to the standard it needed to be.
To that point, he said he has treated thousands of patients over the decades as long as he's been a doctor here. And I'm curious, I'm just going to say facts. Jim Irsay was a billionaire. He was also the owner of an NFL team. He also had a close relationship, according to Dr. Harry here. Because Dr. Harry, I'm assuming, didn't treat all of his patients this way, right? You can't have this close of a relationship with thousands of patients over the years. Is that going to hurt him that he treated one patient differently than others?
Yeah, I would say it certainly is a risk. Again, our system has this idea of a standard of care with which a physician is required to treat a patient in terms of how they evaluate them, how they communicate with them. And I think it will hurt him if the story that we hear is one where he didn't treat Mr. Irsay like a patient and he treated him like a friend. That is dangerous, right? We see this, by the way, on a day in, day out basis with doctors who treat family members, not just in the celebrity case. Doctors are held to a standard, and all health professionals are held to meeting standard of care. And to the extent it automatically signals to me that it's very likely that he didn't meet standard of care in ways that he needed to, and he let his judgment be clouded. I hope that's not the story we're going to hear, but unfortunately, it's just happened too many times with too many famous people over the years.